Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Life by Design podcast. On this week's episode, I'm joined by Dane Muller, the founder of Heartled Warriors, a movement born from his own journey of struggle, healing, and transformation. After years of masking pain with external success, Dane faced his vulnerabilities and discovered what true strength looks like. That awakening inspired him to create retreats, mentorships, and workshops where men can break free from old patterns, reconnect to their heart, and redefine what masculinity means today. Through Heartled Warriors, Dane has helped countless men transform their lives, relationships, and sense of purpose, proving what's possible when men choose courage, truth, and connection. In this week's episode, expect to learn the importance of the sacred union, what a heart-led warrior is, the importance of creating a lifestyle business, the impact you're having on your kids, and much, much more. Enjoy the episode. Dane Muller, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I can't even remember how we connected, but I think it was it was at the same time that I was potentially in black belt with Nadine. And I reckon one of your epic videos came up in my Explore. I clicked on that, saw your name and joined the dots potentially 6 months ago, something of that sort.
I think we were all around the same time. I think we were putting a big group message through Instagram through Sandor Earl. Yeah,
that rings a bell.
He's put a whole heap of people in there, so I saw your name pop up a few times. Yeah,
that's right. And here we are, probably 6 to 9 months later, finally getting on the podcast. Looking forward to chatting all things men's work, Heartled Warriors. We'll see where it kind of takes us. But before we get started, Can you give the guys a 60 to 90 second spiel of who you are and what's got you to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you, mate. Firstly, thanks for having us on and having this platform for these types of conversations. It's huge and it's what's needed. And I'm Dane Muller, the founder of Heartled Warriors. It's a space where men, women, couples can literally come home to themselves. The mission here is to guide men back to who they are, men, women, and couples back to who they are underneath all the noise, the roles, the pressure, the masks. We live in a world that teaches everyone to stay strong by staying silent, and I believe, in my opinion, that real strength comes from truth. And here at Heartled, we've created a community where everyone can drop the armor, speak honestly, feel deeply, and rise together. It's not about fixing, it's about remembering and reclaiming that voice, that inner voice, and owning your story. Doing the emotional work, the energetic work, so anyone can show up fully for yourself, for your relationships, for your purpose. No one's meant to walk this path alone, and Heartled are here to help you along that path.
Brilliant intro, mate. I liked it. Truth is an interesting word. I had Tony from Empowered Man on last week. I don't know if you've crossed paths with him. Yeah, you'd be halfway with separation if you haven't. It was really interesting because we spoke about truth on that podcast, and both of us been of the belief that probably 95% of men aren't really living in that truth, consciously or unconsciously. How did you find your way back to truth? And that's a constant evolution, I'm sure. But where did you get to in order for you to start to remember who you are, get back to who you are, and access that truth?
Really great question. I really had to take a really long look at myself in the mirror, and it helped having children. I've got two beautiful young boys, 10 and 6, and seeing all of my habits, behaviors, showing up in them, all the things I didn't like about myself, showing up in them, how much of an effect my habits, behaviors had in my relationship, and realizing that with the help of some people in my life, that I was going to lose everything, including myself, if I didn't fall into my truth. And I think people can mistake truth as following a purpose or path, but truth is owning everything, owning all of your shit, holding yourself accountable for absolutely everything in your life, and the truth of not doing this anymore and doing this.
What led you to that place? Because you said you were going to lose everything. Was it feedback from your partner? Was it just a bad state that you're in? Like what? Because often for blokes in particular, I tend to think females are more proactive than blokes for whatever reason. I think there's actually some evolutionary science around it. But what was happening for you at that time where you started? That was the catalyst for this?
There's been a number of catalysts over the years. The beginning, the very first, was the second birth of my second son. Before I discovered this work and followed my path. Now, I was in construction for about 17 years. Had my own building company, and went through a really traumatic childbirth with my second son. I thought I was walking out of there as a widowed father of one, not having my second son, not having my wife, and in that room there was a feeling of helplessness that I'd never felt before. And as a man, there's an innate feeling for us to protect, provide, and I was unable to do that in that room, and that had a huge effect on me because it's not something that I was used to. And during the months after that, I developed some post-traumatic stress, and it started taking a toll on everything in my life. So it also brought up lots of things in my life that I'd dealt with since a young age that I knew, but I wasn't aware of how much of an effect I have, and that was suicidal ideation. I'd dealt with since I was around 8 years old. Depression, anxiety, then all of the labels. I jumped on medication and all those types of things, and then it got to a point where I was considering taking my life, and it was through some beautiful, tough love that I was helped to come to a realization that no one was coming to help me. I had to do it all myself. Had people there for the ride, though I had to ride it for myself. So that was a huge turning point for me.
What happened in that second birth that got kind of passionate? Because I had a situation as well. I don't think it's quite to the extent, but I thought I was going to lose both my partner and my daughter, which I hope no one ever has to experience that, because oh mate, the fight or flight that I went into was like nothing I've ever experienced in my life.
Oh.
It's fucking horrible. But what happened without? I don't know if this is something that you share, but if it is, what happened? If not, maybe top line as to kind of what unfolded.
Yeah, sure. And we've shared it on podcasts and things before. We've really spoken openly about it because I believe there's a lot of support for women in and around prenatal or postnatal depression, and men suffer from postnatal depression as well. It's a really huge thing for men, and speaking up about that was a big part of why we spoke about it. So basically, anything and everything that could have happened for Nadine and myself during this did happen. Nadine's waters broke prematurely. We were a few months premature with Beckham, our second son, and basically become our first son was an emergency Caesar. So this was an emergency Caesar. So if you could picture and this is putting it in the nicest way possible to, I guess, give everyone a view of what happened. Picture a World War II hospital scene where they didn't even have time for the pain medication to kick in on Nadine. They had to cut her start cutting her open without. So she felt everything coming in, and then she was in and out of consciousness, and Beckham had to be revived. Just sitting there helpless. And then because of the hospital staff doing what they were doing, they didn't have the time to sort of let me know what was happening. I just had to sit there and watch, and we're so very grateful for absolutely everything they did, because Beckham and Nadine wouldn't be here without the quick action that they took. Probably broke a lot of rules and regulations with it all. However, what happened was absolutely perfect.
So how did you know that you had PTSD? Because I reckon a lot of fellas are probably going on undiagnosed in PTSD. So
Mm.
how did you, what were the signs and symptoms for you where you knew something wasn't right?
So the staff at the hospital, we had a breakdown of it probably the next day, and they're like, "Hey, look, this is a pretty traumatic scene. We suggest that you seek some professional help, because in about 3 months' time, this could all rear its ugly head." And Nadine and I were really positive. Like, we looked at um, the scenario as really positive. We're like, "Hey, we could have lost everything, but we've actually got everything." So the view on it was really positive for us. And though literally 3 months on the dot, I started having dreams, and just daydreams, and thinking about the situation, and then like progressively got worse and worse and worse, where I was um, like all my thoughts were about Nadine and Beckham dying, and it wasn't in that hospital room. It was all different stuff, like car crashes, drowning, like anything you could think of. So basically, for 24 hours a day, all of my thoughts were just about these two dying. I'd have nightmares. I wasn't sleeping, like just driving home from work in tears. It just consumed me. It was having a huge effect on every aspect of my life, and including my marriage. And Nadine and I, and this is 12 months. So Beckham would have been one about this time that I hid this, and was keeping it to myself. And Nadine and I were having some huge challenges in our marriage, and we were seeing counselors and psychs and all the things. And I finally opened up about it in one of our counseling sessions, and our counselor was like, "Yep, this is good. This is going to have a huge effect on you." So I then went down the path of um, seeking more help through psychs and doctors and all those things.
What do you think for you was the reason to hide something like that?
Violence is the language of masculinity, unfortunately, at the
Mm,
moment. It's
mm.
something that we're taught from a very young age. I mean, I'm not sure of your father and grandfather, but my dad was brought up in the age of where it was wooden ships and iron men, and I never saw any emotion from my dad. It was always, he was, anything that happened through my family or funerals. Like, my mum and dad had lots of challenges with both my sisters, and never saw him shake. And I feel silence is masked, or silence is masked stoicism,
Mm.
unfortunately. And that's the belief that I had at the time. And if I was to show that weakness to my wife, what would she think of me? Because because I felt scared, or I felt like I wasn't a man because I couldn't help. Where in fact it was doing the absolute opposite.
I've seen you post about this a lot, and I'm interested in dissecting it with you and seeing where we get to. That being vulnerability. And I had a mate on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, a guy called Jaguar Hart, and he's got a really interesting take on vulnerability. One that's very different to kind of, I guess, the new wave that's been pushed, that vulnerability
Yeah,
is strength. He actually sees it as weakness, and I was like, that's fascinating. Break it down for me.
yeah. I've
Um,
seen his stuff, and yeah, I've there's a huge difference of opinions in and around that. Yeah.
Totally, totally. What I do find interesting though, is how, I don't want to use the word poorly, how many women struggle with men's vulnerability. And he did research on it. I've done research on it, and my research backs up the same research that he had, which is that at some stage it's used against them, or for some women they see it as um, unattractive. Where do you sit with this vulnerability? Because I think a lot of guys struggle to know what it actually looks like, because for
Mm.
some it becomes is vulnerability me emotionally dumping and sharing everything. And Nick Warner, who I've got on the podcast next week, did an email last week that really landed with me. And he said, it's good to understand that often what they're seeking in vulnerability is emotional depth. And I was like, I think you've landed on
Hmm.
something there for me. So how do you see it? Because that really landed for me. I was like, what they
Yeah.
might be
So
seeking emotional depth.
yeah, again, without knowing what you spoke about with the on your podcast last week, there's a huge difference in, I guess, what some women have seen as vulnerability and what
Mm,
vulnerability can be. And again, there's the depth to it. If a man's opening up or complaining about things in his life like work or friends or things like that, I feel the woman in the relationship's going to feel like a mother.
100%. This is where it gets
I
confusing for a
don't,
lot of guys. You're nailing it.
and it is, and
Mm,
and it is, and that's not vulnerability. That's just complaining.
mm,
Where vulnerability is sharing the deepest parts of you.
mm.
What are you like really fearful of? It's not about, oh, my mates did this, or John didn't show up to the meeting that we had. That's you can talk about that, but that's not vulnerability. Vulnerability is, I'm fucking scared of losing you in my life. You mean everything to me. So many men aren't really sharing the depth of their feelings with their other partner. And I've learnt this along the way over the last few years, and even to recently, where I've had repressed memories show up for me, and the only person in this world that I would ever be able to share them to begin with is my wife Nadine. And true connection comes through vulnerability. True strength lies in vulnerability. And if you want to, I mean, Nadine and I speak about it really with our couples work. There's the societal view of marriage or what a relationship looks like, and that's surface level. So
Mm.
what we want and what we want others to have is a sacred union, and that's like sharing the depths of your soul. That's just completely bearing it all. If you want to stop that drift between you, start opening up. And for me, in my opinion, that's the difference of vulnerability, because it's easy for men to share about surface level things that are happening for them and say it's vulnerability, where in my opinion, it's just complaining about the day to day things.
I think that, yeah, it's really good. I'm going to even sit with it and write on it, because I think a lot of guys haven't been given a roadmap as to what is vulnerability, and to your point, what
Mm,
is like complaining or just emotionally dumping on your partner. That, be more vulnerable to a guy, to say that, like, cool, what does that mean? Or to open your heart, because
mm,
my guess is that a lot of guys would love to go and get a key and just go, hang on 2 seconds, let me just open it. Do you know what I mean? Like, to say that without a bit of a roadmap, I think is really challenging for a lot of guys.
mm.
Um, and then how do you dance, as someone with two kids, how do you dance vulnerability with also not wanting to burden your partner? And again, you've done enough work to not get caught in the old school, just survive. Like, you understand the power of vulnerability, but is there still a part of you that is as a man doesn't want to lay burden on your partner, or that doesn't
Of
cross your
course,
mind? Yeah, yeah, cool.
of course. I think that there's just that innate feeling within men in particular about holding that strength. Though,
Mm,
if we're not sharing to depth with our partner, like we're actually doing them a disservice because it's part of their their being as your feminine to hold you as a masculine.
mm,
Like I'm sure you're aware of it, Blake, that I love being held by the feminine in my masculine.
mm,
Like that's the beautiful dance we get to have between the masculine and feminine, and not allowing Nadine to do that, or not allowing your wife or girlfriend or partner in life to do that for you, you're actually taking something away from them, and
mm,
vice versa. If the female is not allowing their man to be held in the masculine, you're taking things away from them. So it's that continuous reprogramming, going, look, if I don't share this, what am I not doing for myself, and what am I not doing for Nadine?
mm. How do you navigate Nadine as an outlet for you? Obviously, being your partner, your go-to person. Um, I guess another kind of challenge for a lot of guys is that, for them, not only are they misinterpreting vulnerability potentially, but their partner also becomes their sole source of emotional support. Do you
Mm.
have your own coach? Do you have your own therapist? Do you have friends? Like, how do you navigate, um, I guess, emotional hygiene and connection and communication and the support that you might need to kind of navigate life as a business owner, a husband, and a father of two?
Yeah, so well, we're in a really unique uh, situation where we are business partners. We're married. We have two kids. We travel full time. We homeschool. We are in each other's pockets,
Mm,
like almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which we love, and we've been doing that for the last nearly 4.5 years now. And I know some people look at that and go, oh, we couldn't do that, and that's okay. That's not for you. Knowing each other's boundaries, knowing each other, and this takes time and learning and everything as well. And yes, we do have people in our corner. We've got multiple mentors um, that help us. We have putting people in your corner that have been there and done it all before is a huge part of learning and growing, and get to bypass a lot of the things along the way that they can show you that might be a speed bump. And again, it's all come with time. We know each other so well that we can feel and read each other before something comes up generally, and just having that open line of communication. And again, being a man, and this is a generalization again, men are always going to find it more difficult to open up and speak, even about the smallest things. And this isn't vulnerability, it's just an open line of communication, where generally women are a lot better at voicing anything and everything. And no matter how much work you do, it's just that primal, innate feeling in a man just to hold it. So there's always going to be moments of, oh, I should have said that, or I need to say this as well. So it's taking ownership of that along the way. I'm like, okay, I need to talk about this. This is something I need to share. This is something I should share. I'm going to share it. Uh, allowing space for each other is hugely important too. There's a lot of times where Nadine or myself may not be right or ready to talk about something. And it's just, again, the communication of it is a huge piece.
How do you guys go navigating relationship in business, whether it's roles or even coming back to kind of some fundamental relationship dynamics with masculine and feminine? Um, how do you guys go navigating that in business?
There's no separation in personal life and business for us.
Mm,
We are our business. Our business is us. So anything that happens in our personal life flows into the business. So if there's a block or anything within us as a couple outside of the business, it's going to show up in the business. So I think for anyone that's in business together, and what we share and in our opinions is there is no separation. So having it all in one for us, and if we're navigating something outside of the business, then it's being navigated inside of the business as well. So the big piece for us was not having the separation, organization in calendars and things like that to help. And there's always going to be some mix-ups and things along the way. It's just how it works. So the big learning piece for us along the way was when we dove into this together was not separating work life and personal life. It was together. It was all a part of us.
The reason I share that is if you're looking at kind of traditional masculine, feminine, leadership would be one trait that would be deemed a more masculine trait. Do you, as an observer, you appear to me to be kind of the more masculine, Nadine, more feminine. Does that change for you guys in relationship dynamic? The only reason I ask that is I notice when I'm working with my partner and she's in her area, I need to kind of just drop back. Otherwise we butt heads in terms of masculine. So I just know my place. Do you guys find a way to navigate that through different roles and responsibilities and areas of expertise?
Yeah, definitely. Look, Nadine, when she is in her masculine, there's no one that sits in the masculine better. Like her zone, she has multiple zones of genius, one of them being business. So there's so much inside the business that she leads. And it's just, and completely being completely honest here, the business wouldn't be what it is without her leadership. So there's definitely more of a leader role through that with Nadine, and I get to take my parts in that. There's definitely different parts of the business when it comes to retreats and things. That's definitely my area of genius, and I'm leading that, and she's leading this, and then family life. There's things that well, I'll definitely lead travel and organisation a lot more of that, so she gets to sit back and be in that beautiful flow of hers as well. So I guess it comes with, because we've been in this for such a long time, there's no having to think about it either. It's just
you
a flow. Yeah.
So. Which, I mean, you guys have been together for what? 14?
Married 10 years, together for about 13.
13 years. You would have found your flow by then. And it's, I mean, it's natural for you guys. But for a lot of people, it's not. I mean, you guys have been practicing it for 13 years. And it took me probably 12 months to realise that Shani and I were butting heads when we were both in her space, and I wanted to kind of stay in that, what felt more comfortable with that masculine dynamic. What does the heart-led warrior look like?
What is the heart? I've been asked questions like that, but never, what does the heart-led warrior look like? That's really cool how you put that. It looks like it's going to look very different for each person that comes into it. Truth. Someone that has been awakened, and that not in a spiritual sense, and in a awakened to themselves sense. Again, like I spoke about at the beginning, someone that's finally stopped blaming everything outside of them and owned everything inside of them. Someone that's completely surrendered to themselves.
Why the heart? Why the heart-led? I mean, to you and I on the inside of men's work, it's obvious, but why heart-led? Is it is there a story behind it? Did you feel yourself you were really disconnected from your heart and you just had that kind of unconscious warrior way of life? Why heart led?
So when we about nearly 4.5 years ago, we're going through some really difficult times 5 years ago, and we decided to sell everything, pack up, buy a caravan, and hit the road with our two boys, homeschool our dog, to rediscover ourselves. I'm not going to say find, because I don't believe anyone's ever lost. We just needed to rediscover or remember ourselves. And we started up a family travel page, and it was called Heartled Warriors. Now, at the time, it was just we fell in love with the name Heartled Warriors because we were following our hearts with the travel, and within that 6 months we'd created this business, and the heart-led theme rung true for me. So many people are stuck up here, and then there's so much around mindset work. Let's change your mindset. Let's do this mindset stuff where it's actually the thing that's getting people stuck is being in their mind too much, and we're encouraging people to drop into their heart space, follow your heart, lead with your heart, and yes, your head can and the logic side of things can come into it. However, following your heart is where you're truly going to find that happiness and that joy. And knowing what I had been through, and it could only be something very minuscule compared to so many other people, that we all have a story. We all have pulled ourselves out of some sort of struggle, challenge, whether it's men or women, and we're all got that fight within us to be a better version of ourselves, and that's where the warrior piece came into it. So I feel, I mean, the issue we have in Australia at the moment with suicide and our rates. I know the challenge it took for me to get myself out of that. So many people are unable to do that, and so many people can. And it takes true strength, warrior strength, to be able to do that. And yeah, dropping into that heart and following that and pulling yourself out like a warrior.
What got you out of suicide? Suicidal ideation. It's fascinating that you had it since the age of 8. Whether we get to unpacking that, that's I found that fascinating when you said that.
Mm.
What got you to that place, and then what got you out? Because as someone who's been there, and I've had a couple of conversations with, I had Tony last week, and we've had a couple recently. I do come back to the fact that, for a lot of people who don't make it out the other side, like you and I have, a loss of hope is a big part. They just can't see a way out, or a way of out of pain, or a way of turning things around. But for me, I don't know about you. I'm interested in your story. I was looking for anything to kind of hang my hat on as an opportunity or a way out. Even when
Mm.
it was blind hope, I just held on to whatever I could. So what helped you out?
Well, because it had been such a huge part of my life for so long, it was so normal. And I'd never spoken about it. I just thought all these thoughts and feelings were what everyone felt. Like it wasn't so much that I wanted to end my life. It was more of the fact that the world would be better off without me. There's so many things that I would do that wouldn't turn out the way I wanted. I felt like I disappointed lots of people, all of those things. So there was in it was a huge piece of self-worth and self-doubt, no love for myself. Uh, Again, my children led me to a space of, if I don't change this for myself, potentially I could end up at one of their funerals in time, because I mean, we know that generational trauma is true. It is a thing, and there's science and data behind that now. And for me to work my way out of it, and I'll tell this to any man, learning to love myself, all of the good, all of the bad, and that takes time and practice, was one of the biggest things for me. And one of the first things I did was truly and intentionally start practicing gratitude. Like it's such a simple tool and yet so powerful, because I mean, so many people practice gratitude, though won't intentionally practice it. And they'll do it for a week and feel good, then stop. And I remember the first time I actually truly intentionally did, I woke up, and I'm not sure where we were, but I was just grateful. I didn't think about anything too in depth. I'm just grateful to wake up. That was my first truly intentional practice of gratitude, because I sat down. I'm like, how many people this morning haven't woken up or haven't had the opportunity to wake up this morning? And I'm just grateful that I woke up. And that really set something off in me. And then with that gratitude, I got to start remembering all of these things I've got to be proud of in my life, even if they didn't work out, and looking at the lessons I had. It was, again, this is where the mindset piece comes into it, is looking at every piece of my life as a positive instead of that negative. Oh, this didn't happen because this, or this happened because I wasn't ready for it. There were so many little pieces along the way, though. It was learning to, like, how many men could look themselves in the mirror and tell themselves that they love themselves?
Yeah, it's
And I've
probably
asked
awkward
that
for most
question.
people.
It would. And I've
Mm,
asked so many men that question, and they'll shake their head and they're like, "No, I couldn't do it."
mm,
Could you do it outside of the mirror? No. So I can stand in front of the mirror and tell myself that I love myself and feel completely comfortable in it and believe it. Like, there's days where I probably don't like myself
mm,
as much, though it doesn't mean I don't love myself.
mm. You've kind of skimmed over it a couple of times as very casual, matter of fact, which is part of your energy. That being the changes that you had to make, or the changes that you chose to make for your kids. I like, obviously, for me, Frankie's 7 weeks old now. I knew this feeling was coming prior. I just like knew that it was going to come, but I can't imagine not overcoming whatever needs to be overcome in order for the well-being of her, whether it's my
Mm.
own darkness, addictions, whatever it might be. Have you ever needed anything more than two little boys in front of you as motivation? I just can't understand. I can't get myself to a place where I can't understand men not looking, looking in the eyes of their daughter or their son, and that not being good enough motivation for change.
Enough, yeah.
I don't
Can
understand it.
can make complete sense of that. And there was never a lack of motivation changing for them. So what I needed to do was stop doing it for them and doing it for myself.
Mm,
There's a huge difference in that, because there were so many things I was telling them and telling them and telling them, though they had no evidence of it through me. I could tell them to be confident. I could tell them all of the things, do this, do that. Though, how are they going to believe it if they don't see it?
totally. Mm.
So for me, it was, instead of doing it for them, I had to start doing it for myself, which in turn does it for them anyway.
Do you feel like it's so interesting? I mean, it makes sense to, the most powerful way to do something for yourself. Do you think for a lot of guys, though, if they don't have a good relationship with themselves, that it's easier to do it for the kids than to do it for themselves?
100%. And I speak to a lot of women through my DMs around wanting their men to do the work and things like that. And sometimes, as big as strong and tough as a lot of men are, we're really scared. We're
Mm,
really, especially when it comes to confronting yourself,
mm,
uh, holding yourself accountable, and sometimes uh, we need that little bit of a security blanket, and that is okay. So, and I've mentioned this a few times. If you need to tell yourself that you're doing it for your children or doing it for your relationship, that's okay, because soon you will realize you're actually doing it for yourself.
mm. That's good. That's really good. Um, Homeschooling. Little bit of a sidetrack, but I've
Mm-hmm.
always just kind of been interested in it. How have you gone navigating that with running a business, in a relationship, traveling? Like, for anyone who wants to explore or is considering exploring the world of homeschooling while traveling the world, what are your kind of top level pros and cons in that?
Finding the right provider for you. When we've tried a few different providers. They've all been great though. Who we're using now is they're absolutely magic. And when we first started, I'm not a teacher in that sense of that type of education, and trying to organize curriculum and lessons was a really challenging thing. So finding a provider that had everything ready to go for us, where we could just join in on the lesson. And when we first started, it was actually it wasn't a nice thing to do, because I was like, oh, I've got to organize this lesson. I've got to do this. So it was almost a pain to do, where I didn't want that, because I mean, how many kids complain about going to school each day? That's not what we wanted. So finding a provider that had all that set up for us specifically for the individual child and their area of learning was really paramount for us. And now that we've got that sorted, we actually look forward to our lessons. So I get to sit there and um, learn alongside of him, and join in with him, and so the big con in it can be, if you haven't found a provider that works for you. So the pro is when you find the right provider that works for you, it's actually really, really fun.
And how do you guys go navigating? Because you both obviously work in the business.
Mhm.
How do you go navigating and keeping the boys entertained while you're changing lives?
We have worked really hard at scheduling.
Mm,
There's such a, like, in society. Hey, Madden, sorry, mate.
all right.
It's up on the in the kitchen. The boys are just waking up. It's only 10 to 8 here in Dubai. We've worked really hard on getting our business to a place which works for our lifestyle.
Mm,
So we've over the years we've worked around, like, I mean, to begin with, it was 7 days a week serving people, because that's what we thought we needed to do to make the difference. And over time, it's gotten less and less and less. So a lot of people work 5 days a week, 2 days a week, where we work 2 days a week and have 5 days to ourselves.
mm.
Now, there's always work to be done. There's always um, messages and people that have inquiries, and like DMs are always there. And though client wise, we've worked really hard to knock that down to 2 days a week, and that comes in with really, really specific scheduling and timings. So working that in, our boys know that the 2 days that um, we're on is the days that they have their rest days. So we just make sure everything's set up. Again, we've got Nadine's mum that we bring along with us to help us on those days as well. So we've worked so hard at providing and creating the time that we want for our kids, because there'd be no point of living the life that we lived if we were on meetings 5 days a week and only had the 2 days where we are on our calls and things for the 2 days a week, and we get to have those 5 days with the boys.
I had the same conversation with Tony last week. I keep coming back to feeling more and more drawn to people like yourself who have found a way to build a business around your life, as opposed to a large portion of society who are trying to fit in a life around their business. Like
Mm.
I feel like I could not be further removed from that way of living. And obviously a lot of people are stuck in that dynamic now. But to hear the way that you guys do it is unreal. Obviously, we've got mutuals with, Taki Moore, who does it with 5 kids as well. Like,
Mm.
I'm so drawn to that way of doing, and to for people to see evidence like yourselves and the Taki Moores of the world who find a way to make it happen and live the best life. I just hope more and more people can do that. And really, at the end of the day, reprioritize things, because it's so, I don't know how you feel, I know we're looking at a similar landscape. It's so sad to see the breakdown of so many marriages, so many families where the father is pretty much non-existent, and just the suffering from a mental well-being point of view when you're not taking care of the things that are important. So to hear another example of how it's done, and obviously yours is very different to the way that we've done it, which is very different to the Taki Moors, is so good to hear. I assume you
Yeah,
kind of find yourself in similar circles now as well, in terms of people that have that school of thought.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like that that uh, that proximity. Once you start living a certain way and choose to continually live that way, you're going to attract those people in your life. So yeah,
Mm,
we're different to how Taki does it, to how you do it, and I feel if you try and base what you want on what others are doing, that's where people can really come unstuck,
totally.
because what's happening for us isn't going to work for you, or what's
Mm,
happening for them isn't going to work for us. And even along the way, that was a learning piece for us. With like, I mean, we've got some amazing people in our corner, like Taki with Dan Martell, where their systems, while yes, we take pieces of it, it doesn't 100% work for our
mm,
business.
mm.
So it was a trust in ourselves as well. It's like, no, we need to keep this part of our business. So yeah, let's bring that part of what they're doing. We'll let go of that part, and just knowing that what we were doing was working for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to learn that as well
Mm.
from a business point of view.
It is, because you can see what Taki's doing, the success that he's had, or
Yeah.
whatever person that you're working with, or not even working with, that you might see, and like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this, and yep, you can take lots of pieces of that. Though it's not possible that it's going to be exactly how you
Mm.
work it. So, mm.
Mate, been so good to talk. For those that want to find out more about you, the work you do, where's the best spot to send them?
Uh, all of the social media platforms is heartled_warriors, or heartledwarriors.com.au. Look, Instagram, if you want to have a chat, jump on Insta. It's me in the messages. I love those conversations. Our work, I mean, if you jump on my page or our page, it can be confronting, some of the things that we post. Though that's what gets people intrigued, and we post those things to create conversation, and I'm there for it. It's like so many comments. I mean, I was talking to Dean about, I posted here a few months ago, or a couple of months ago, about the backlash we were getting in our comments, and I saw you jump into the comments and reply to a few. So I appreciate that, mate. Thank you so much. And one of the comments that we get is, just go to therapy. Just go to therapy. Why don't you just go to
Mm,
therapy? This is what we do, is therapy.
mm,
It is a form of therapy, and it doesn't look like the traditional sense. I've been to therapists, multiple, um, personally, as in marriage, and for a lot of people, it's just not working. If traditional therapy was working, we wouldn't have 9 Australians taking their lives each day.
mm,
It'd be a lot different. Um, so again, I'm there for the conversations, to open people's minds, to possibly gain more support, whether it's something that you want to do for yourself or not. Uh, Again, here's the biggest block for men, because again, 9 of those suicides each day, 7 of those are men. I think the numbers are a little larger at the moment. The biggest block for men helping themselves is men, and not having support. So I make sense of people commenting some of the comments that they do from a place of fear, and not understanding. Though, what happens if you've made a comment on something that we do, or something like we do somewhere else, and it's your son or your brother or a work colleague that has been to traditional therapies, and isn't quite doing the job, and he sees what we do, or someone like us do, and then sees your comment, and then they end up taking their lives. That's like that could be the reality of it. So if you're not on board with it, that's okay. Though if you're making these comments and you're not supporting people in general to help themselves in any way, you're a huge part of that problem. You're a huge part of why that number is in suicides each day. So I get it. If it doesn't look like something you would do, that's okay. I'm not saying it is for everyone. I'm not saying any work is for anyone. However, why not just support men and women wanting to be a better version of themselves, no matter how it looks? As soon as we can get that better support from men in particular, I think it's going to go a long way to changing those numbers.
I find it so weird that I know because I remember going to war for going to war for you on a couple of posts. I find it weird. Obviously, we're in a different space that it'd be backlash and whatever else because I get so jacked up by your videos. But yeah, everyone's at a different stage, going through different stuff.
Mm.
Mate, thank you for jumping on and chatting. And yeah, just setting an example on so many levels, on a personal front, on a business front, and even how you guys, as you kind of explained how you do business as a family, and on a relationship front as well. And yeah, as you said, some of the stuff that gets posted comes with backlash, but at the end of the day, you continue to show up in a really awesome way and have an awesome movement going, which I appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. Again, thank you for the support. Thank you for the platform that you've created to have these conversations. Even if there's people that you bring on like last week that you have a difference of opinion on, it's so nice and refreshing to allow people to have a difference of opinion. There's no arguments. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. So I appreciate the platform that you've got for that and allowing. I mean, for yourself especially, it must be pretty cool to have people on that have a difference of opinion that actually open you up a little bit more and go, oh, okay, I can see why that happens, and it changes your opinion a little bit too. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, mate. Everyone gets the benefit, including me, which is an awesome
Mm,
platform. So, yeah, thanks again, brother.
appreciate it.